there's a hole in the ceiling. There's a big hole in the ceiling where we put a vent in to carry smoke out of the house and warm air over the stove. Of course, we're installing a vent over the stove, and the hole is this big. It's a 7-inch hole. There will be a pipe going through it, but it's a straight vent, and animals can come in that vent, like rats, mice, squirrels, birds, anything that can get up in the attic can come in through that vent. I mean anything. Lions, tigers, and bears. We're talking about animals coming into the house through a 7-inch hole in the vent. And that's not all, folks. We have a problem with grasshoppers, ants, and you know it, cockroaches. How are we going to keep them all out of this house? Find out right now. Okay, well, at first I thought I was going to cut this with this guy right here, but I can't even make any headway with this. So I'm going to use this little guy right here, and this is you might understand this is, I guess it's a side cutter, but it's a wire, and the reason you're wondering probably why don't I use it on this, and well, the reason is pretty clear. If you ever try to cut through a sheet metal with something like this, it'll get just one cock out a tiny little bit, and it'll just tear it right out of your hand. Before you know it, you got this huge gash. So I would never use this on the sheet metal, but these are just little pieces of wire, and it'll cut right through it. So the only other thing is, if you're going to use this loud machine and you're going to use it on metal, you got more goggles and hearing protection, because first it's loud, second it'll throw metal. And if you've ever had a little speck of metal in your eye, normally you have to go to the doctor, an eye doctor, and he'll use a pair of tiny little tweezers to basically pull that sliver out of your eye. So you're cutting metal, wear goggles. Don't be stupid. Alright? So the only thing I need is my gloves. I don't know what to do with them. So we do that. And here's where the grill goes, right on top here. The question is, how to stick it in here and make it stick. See, like that. So it's going to bend around the edges all the way around here. And then when it gets down, I'll stuff it down inside, and I'll use the tape, and I'll tape around the edges. And that'll hold this piece as a grill. The other option is to go around the outside like this, which would be really easy to do, but once I do that, I'm not going to be able to get it up inside the roof. So I'm going to have to put this on the inside. Well, you might remember where we got this from. This was just a bit of a paint roller. I got this in the paint department at the hardware store. It's just a bit of screen that, and you just cut this off, and what we're going to do is going to bend down all these little pieces right here. Now, the original plan was this is going to be all of it, but I also want to keep out insects. So on top of this, I'm going to put some screen, and this is just a little bit of leftover screening that I had from another job. And what this is, it's called Bright Coat. It's aluminum screening, and this is for keep insect screening. This is for keeping the bugs out. So this is what we're going to use for that. Now, putting these together, you can see I have quite a bit of this left over. A lot more than I need. But if you can find a little bit of this laying around the house, I suppose most of you well, may not have it, unless, like me, you're a handyman and you keep stuff like this around. You might be able to find some of this at the hardware store, and I think you can probably get this for no more than $10. In fact, this might be $5 or $6. It could be $15, who knows. But this is what we're going to use. So let's get on the next step, which is going to be to shape and cut these things so that it will fit into that vent pipe without having to go on the outside of it. One of the things I need to do is I need a pattern to go by, and what I've done is, of course, I still have the original ceiling hole that I cut out. So what I want to do is I want to make a little outline, because you know, I thought I might use the pipe because it has to go in the pipe, but the problem with the pipe is that it's deforming when it's not in the hole. So what I'll do is I'll just draw myself a pattern around this thing right here, so I'll know about where the edge of the hole is going to be and where I need to cut and bend these things. See, now I can see some marks here where they will bend down and inward, and it's not, there's no exactness about this. You just got to make sure that you've got places where they can bend, but you don't want to cut the edge off because you're going to use this to hold the screen in. See, these will bend down. So that piece, but that's okay, that'll just be one piece. And it really, this is only to keep the animals out. Okay, so I've made this part here, and the next part is, okay, what I've done is I've just tucked everything down. I thought about going on the outside, but if I do that I have to cut a bigger hole in the ceiling, and I don't want to make the hole any bigger. I could, and it would make this whole thing a lot easier to do. But what I'm doing now is I've got this shaped into a circle, as you can see, and now I'm just trying to stuff it down inside this thing. And you have to do it a little bit at a time. And I know, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to take this out, because in order to hold this in, I'm going to have to put some of that aluminum tape. See, the vent flap is still in there, so I'm going to have to just remember, it says left over here, it's marked left, right, right, and of course the top is, you know, remember we worked on all this. So I'm going to have to take this out. And I want to do, because I make sure this is the top of this. And then 1 minute ago this just slid right on in there. Okay, so that's a good way to do it. Just drop it in there, come back around, and get this stuff all the way here because I don't want it sticking. Now there it is. And crush it right on down in there. Okay, and that works. Okay, so look, right down in there, you can see I've got it crushed right down to the bottom. At this point, the only thing I want to do is I'm going to have to get some of that tape, and now I'm going to run some tape around the side, which is the only reason we can get in here is because I took this out. So now I'm going to get some tape. We're going to get the aluminized tape, and we're going to tape this up, and then we're going to work on the screen. Well, okay, so I have this stuff down in here. You might wonder why, if I'm putting this screen on, I'm using this big piece here. You might think that I don't really need it, and in fact I could probably get away with simply wrapping this around here and taping it down, but I don't want to have to cut the hole and make it any bigger. And wrapping this on the inside is probably not gonna work as well as I would like it to. So this piece here, what it does is it gives it structure. It forces it up against the sides of the pipe, and it kind of forces it to stay into place. It looks like I've got a little bit of a bend it wants to be in. But what this will do is it'll just mesh, it'll force this mesh up against the side of the pipe. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to seal it up with some of this stuff. Now I've cut this, as you can see, I've cut the screen, and it's pretty easily, you can cut it with a pair of scissors really easily. So I just cut a little piece off here, and then I rounded the corners so they don't stick up. And the next thing I'm going to do is just shove this whole configuration. I'm going to have to hold this part because it's going to want to break loose. And then shove this whole business right on in from the top, because this is going to be the bottom down here. Okay. Then I'm going to try and shape that. And then instead of trying to take the whole thing at once, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put little pieces of this aluminized tape on it to hold it in place first. So I'll just cut a little piece here. The trimming, of course, again, was to make sure it doesn't get in the way of the flapper. Okay, so first place I want to put some of this stuff. This likes to be sticking up right about here. So I'm going to push that. I'm holding this down because it'll pop up as I push down. I'll push that down and push that down. It looks like, wow, it's kind of holding it pretty well. I think I've got enough in here basically to put this where I want to keep it. Now, okay. Last little bit we need to do here before we put this back on is reinstall a vent. Okay, so that goes through that hole, and this prevents from going inside. Wish I could remember which side. Okay, I marked it. This is left, so that goes this way, and it goes this way. Alright. So, I was trying to put it in the hole. Alright. It doesn't prevent a lot of airflow, but it does prevent it. So, okay. So this should go back like that. So another word for this, it's called contraption. But it works. Okay. 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 Luckily, it's all taped up. And only bent it a little bit. Let's go. Alright. So, and bending isn't a big deal as long as this thing goes on top of it, because eventually this will get sealed up. It's tape to hold it by those things. Gotta bring it back down. Line that up. Okay. That's how she goes. Alright, so she's back in place. This still works. Test that. I should hear a tap when I shut the fan off. Okay, hear that? Okay, so the last step or next step we have is to put the cabinet back. That's coming next week. Thanks for watching my program. If you like my videos, be sure and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And for an organized listing of my YouTube videos, go to my website, www.wherearemyplacebos.com, and click on videos. Have a great day.